Great habits. Ready to roll?
Lights gone out, but have no fear.
Wear one type of shoe or lace their shoe up in a particular way versus another. Wear the jeans that they wear the coats that they wear, or even put the glasses that they feel like wearing on. Human motivation has long been something that's driven people into sort of a space of confusion. We're going to speak about a couple of different motivational theories this week. One is Maslow, the classic hierarchy of food, shelter, belonging, getting to self-esteem en route to being self-actualized. You covered this in Psychology 101. Everyone, presumably, according to Maslow, a theory that was developed in the 60s, has to satisfy these basic needs before ascending to shelter, to belonging, to these more advanced needs, and eventually to a peak moment. The idea is that you spiral up over time and then spiral down and eventually, hopefully, stay at peak more than chasing food. But if you're from a third world nation, you know that's not the case. That you don't have what I call the upside down Maslow situation where most people are trying for the peak experience out of the gate without actually getting the essentials. This is for another lecture. Results-oriented sort of motivation theories or ways of thinking about motivation remind me of the movie Wall Street, right? Where there's a sales-driven culture, everyone's looking at, focusing on getting to that achiever reset to zero. Not always ethically bad, not a bad thing if there's a social cause, which gets us into equity theory, social justice-driven ways of thinking about humanity. Most organizations, Warby Parker, Alex and Ani, others are really looking at ways in which to bring sort of a way to be socially driven into the equation. The next is, well, let's jump to expectancy theory. Expectancy theory has been around for a long time. Well, you caught this in the book, and so let's not dive too deeply into this. But we do know that there are multiple lenses, foundational and then some other spins or ways to kind of focus. My goal is to help you understand self-determinism theory, because self-determinism theory hasn't really been driven by, and that's the book, by the way, Daniel Pink, that houses so much of the modern content of this theory, was developed by Ed Deci and Rich Ryan. And I really like this theory as a way of you considering how to rethink human motivation within the workplace, because it focuses on motivation as being a function of how you, as a human being, an active organism in the world, drive forward. And that you want autonomy, you want relatedness, autonomy, connectedness, and mastery. And this notion of mastery, or really understanding something, whether it's psychology, whether it's clothing, whether it's race car driving, whether it's being an artist, a teacher, is something that you'll chase over and over again. Now, presumably you have to have passion to get mastery, and that's another group of studies that we would talk about regarding grit and Angela Duckworth. But self-determinism theory doesn't even make it to the text. So my counterpoint or prod to you this week is, why not? Why haven't we taken a theory that was so foundational and thought of a way to drive that into how we think to treat and inspire engagement within modern workers? You see, most of the conundrums that we face today are around carrot and stick management. Carrot and stick management really is presumably this sort of rewarding coercion. You know, do really well, I'll give you a carrot, which is an external sort of presumption of external motivation, that you're going to really want the carrot, the time off, the bonus, etc. That could actually get you into a results-oriented way of thinking. Now, that might not be very good, and then the punishment is the stick. If you don't do what I say, you're going to end up with a negative hit, if you will, on the hand, as if you were in Catholic school in the 1970s. So if you grew up in Catholic school environments, you know that the stick was usually something, or saw it in the movies, that came down when you didn't behave in the way in which the nun or the brother or the priest said, hey, you should behave this way. Regardless, it's not really the way we want to treat people. We want workers to feel a sense of knowledge driving them. We want them to understand the ways in which they can be engaged in the workforce. And I'm wondering, and I'd like you to wonder this week, is this information from the Gallup organization regarding the disengagement of workers, the lack of motivation to stay focused, connected to our inability as IOPs or OD people or leaders a real bridge. That is, most organizations have workers, according to the Gallup poll, that show that about 2/3 of all dollars are wasted because most employees, workers, leaders, managers, fall into one of two categories. One, they're unengaged, or two, actively disengaged. Both mean that they're not actually doing the work that they said, hey, I have a duty to do, and that I agree to do, and that I'll do for dollars and cents or for meaning making, whatever the motivation might be. So my question for you is, do you create a new motivational theory? Here's one that I sketched up for you. This has expectancy theory, equity theory, results orientation, an understanding of self-determinism theory, and Maslow. And do you create a diamond that sort of explains how to get someone in their target zone, how an employee focuses, and how a leader should focus on honoring motivation within the construct of work? You see, being motivated is not just about a linear something. It's not liking explaining something. In fact, it could be, or liking teaching, or liking, wait a minute, aha, how could the IPSP competencies be dialed into motivation? So presumably the IPSP measures these competencies, and these competencies, well, if they show up more in work, we're probably more aligned with a natural state of being. So if somebody were high in leadership here, and then they had opportunities to influence people and resources, and equally high in, say, being adaptable, and equally high in being creative, that if they could find a role like that, they could actually use high leadership, high creativity, and high adaptability to be successful. So you see, motivation also can be mapped to types of behaviors or competencies. So there's a lot to say about motivation. Let's bring it home by creating a simple model this week. And it's a model that you can author. What a great opportunity for you. You can model what you believe to be the absolute way in which all leaders, managers, and that you're convincing your other colleagues and, team players, classmates, how to think about motivation to get the most engagement and to become the best contributor, no matter where you stand or sit in an organizational chart or team today. You build the graphic, you build the diagram, and you explain it. You can do it in PowerPoint, and you're going to work it through the forums, and that will be your assignment this week. Dr. Dennis Rubello signing off. Motivationally speaking, I think this will be a pretty charging week. Ciao.